Hello everyone and welcome to the Transit Nomad family. Singapore versus KL, travel suggestions and comparison guide for 2026. Before we get started, I'd like to let you know that I'm currently in East and Southeast Asia for a few months, and during this time I'm recording lots of exclusive content comparing many different cities in the region to help you decide which ones you should visit, while also saving you lots of time and money with practical tips on how to get the most out of your trip. For example, Singapore is one of the most expensive destinations in the world, but I know a way how you can save hundreds or maybe even thousands of dollars when visiting Singapore, and it's not something that others talk about on YouTube. So head over to buymeacoffee.com/transitnomad using the link below and donate any amount of your choice, no matter how big or how small, to get access to my most helpful exclusive content that includes Singapore, Kuala Lumpur, Bangkok, Hong Kong, and many other cities in Asia, Europe, and the United States. With that being said, we're currently located in Kuala Lumpur, which is the capital of Malaysia. I just arrived here from Singapore a few days ago, and I spent a considerable amount of time over there. Now I'm staying here for a couple of weeks. So this gives me a pretty good idea of the difference between these two cities. And the number one thing I'd like to mention is that Kuala Lumpur is not as developed as they say it is. It is a great city. They definitely have a lot of cool stuff to offer. The areas around the luxurious shopping malls are really awesome. Also, they have some cool historic city districts that are also good for exploring, but they also have a lot of cities that are, a lot of streets that are underdeveloped, where you can see lots of trash or buildings that are kind of in the process of collapsing. Also, very poor infrastructure for pedestrians. When you want to walk around, it's not comfortable, it's not convenient, it's not easy to cross the street. They don't have proper crossings everywhere. They do have some proper crossings, again, especially around the areas where they have these MRT stations or LRT stations or monorail stations, but in many parts of the city, if you want to cross the street, you just have to take your chances because there is no crossing. And even if there is a crossing, cars don't often stop for people. They will only stop if they see that you are in their way and they have no choice. Then hopefully they are going to stop, but they don't really slow down or stop for people to cross the street most of the time here in Kuala Lumpur. Now, Singapore is a completely different story, because in Singapore, the infrastructure for pedestrians is a lot more developed. So if you want to walk around and you want to explore the city streets and everything that the city has to offer, getting around is a lot more convenient, because you don't have to find ways to cross the street. It's usually a lot more straightforward. It's a lot more comfortable and safer, and overall it's a much more enjoyable experience. Also, a lot of the older buildings, they are still in a pretty good condition. They try to maintain them, they try to make them visually appealing, or they just look okay. They don't look like as bad as some of the buildings here in Kuala Lumpur, and this is something that makes a difference, in my opinion. I did make a video on my channel showing some of the streets that are not as good in Kuala Lumpur. Feel free to take a look at it. I think it's called KL Bad Areas or something like that. Feel free to look it up on my channel. But to make a long story short, Kuala Lumpur is a city of contrasts, with some areas that are very developed, but some areas that are underdeveloped, and the city still has a lot of work to do when it comes to creating a good environment for people walking around, and creating like this kind of eye-pleasing experience. Singapore is way ahead of Kuala Lumpur when it comes to that. I was shocked to remember that some YouTubers I was watching, they mentioned that Kuala Lumpur is just like Singapore but cheaper. Well, it's nothing like Singapore. Singapore is not my favorite city in the world, don't get me wrong. I have other cities that I like more, but Kuala Lumpur has a very long way to go before it can compete with Singapore when it comes to a lot of things. The only part where Kuala Lumpur shines, and there's no doubt about that, is the cost. Singapore is very expensive. It's not easy to afford it. Even if you have a good income, when you start searching around for hotels, you start to realize that it's difficult to get anything decent for less than $200 per night. Oftentimes you have to pay more, and I'm talking about budget options. I'm not talking about luxurious options. So Singapore is crazy expensive. But here in Kuala Lumpur, you can get a luxurious hotel, luxurious apartment for $30, $40, $50 per day if you want to be in the city center, or even less if you are willing to stay outside of the city center. Then you can get it for $15, $20, $25, $30 per day. Right now I'm paying a little bit less than $35, and I'm staying here in Bukit Bintang area, and it's a luxurious apartment with a beautiful view and a pool and a gym and a large space. It's very comfortable for working on my computer. It's also good for relaxing and getting some rest. The furniture is very nice. It feels premium, and all the amenities, the internet, everything is working really well. The views, did I mention the views? It's so beautiful. It's really amazing, like a nice balcony, and you can see the whole city. I really appreciate that apartment, and it cost me less than $35 per day. In Singapore, if you wanted to get something like that, it would cost at least 10 times as much, maybe more than 10 times as much. So you can see the difference is dramatic between Singapore and Kuala Lumpur. And when it comes to the cost, in this case, it's kind of, you get what you pay for, I guess. I don't like that saying, but if you compare the value that the city offers when it comes to the infrastructure in KL, that's why you're paying so much less. Because guess what? This right here, where we're standing right now, this is the most developed area. This is where they have the pedestrian crossing. This is where the traffic lights are working. This is where you can get around pretty easily. They also have the MRT and the monorail here, and this is where all the shopping malls are, so you can hide from rain. But most of the city is not like this. It's nothing like this. So if you just want to hang out in this area, okay, then great. But most likely, chances are you want to explore the city, and you don't want to get bored quickly after you spend some time in those shopping malls. And by the way, this area is really small. It's like you just walk around for maybe 20-30 minutes and that's it. You see everything, and then what? So my whole point is that Singapore has a lot more to offer when it comes to the infrastructure, and this does make a pretty big difference. But of course it comes with a cost. Again, if you want to save money, feel free to access my exclusive content, because my strategy for exploring Singapore while paying less is definitely functional, and chances are it might really save you thousands of dollars. With that being said, we are currently in the best area. As I mentioned, we are approaching the Pavilion Mall, which is one of the most famous malls here. And I did want to talk a little bit about the weather. Right now is one of the very few chances when it's possible to be outdoors without getting wet in the rain or being overheated because of the sun and the humidity. Most of the time it is very difficult to be outdoors in Kuala Lumpur, and in Singapore also the weather is kind of similar. Maybe Singapore is tiny little bit better, but maybe it's just because of my personal experience. But the point is that this kind of weather, this kind of climate, it really slows you down, because you have to hide from rain or you have to hide from the heat, and you end up having to spend more time indoors. And because you have to spend more time indoors, obviously it slows you down. It's hard to be as productive if you want to see different places and explore all the parks and landmarks. It's harder because once you get out of the train or the bus or the taxi and there's no air conditioning, you might have difficulties breathing. Maybe you can last for 5, 10, 15 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, and then you feel so tired and you feel headache. So weather is another thing that should be taken into consideration before visiting these cities, because the weather here, in both of them, the weather is not very enjoyable, and it slows people down, especially people who like to explore the outdoors. If you want to spend time indoors, then it doesn't matter. When it comes to food, that is another thing I wanted to compare in Singapore and Kuala Lumpur. And surprisingly, the food in Singapore is not that expensive. If you eat at hawker centers, which are these huge food courts in Singapore, they have many different locations. My favorite one is Lau Pasat. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's right in the heart of the city center. They have like dozens of many different vendors offering many different kinds of food, and it's relatively clean and it's very affordable. The cost of one meal is usually $5, $6, $7 American dollars, and I find this to be a very good value. In Kuala Lumpur, it's pretty similar. It's a little bit cheaper, but it's not that much cheaper when it comes to food. And I was a little bit surprised because when it comes to housing, the difference is huge. It's 10 times as much when it comes to buying hotels, booking hotels, booking Airbnbs. But if you are buying food and you are eating at these food courts, the price difference is minimal. And the quality of food in Singapore, I feel it's higher, and also it's more diverse. They have more different choices. Here I see a lot of local food, like Malaysian food and Indian food, because there are a lot of Indians living here, and more like local options. They have other options too, but mostly local options. Whereas in Singapore, I see more variety, like Chinese, Korean, Japanese, Thai, and it's all within those hawker centers, and it costs $5, $6, $7. So I feel that when it comes to food, Singapore is slightly better, at least for me, because I like to eat seafood. I find more seafood options in Singapore than in Kuala Lumpur, and it does make a positive difference for me when it comes to eating out. And also when it comes to supermarkets, again, Kuala Lumpur is a little bit cheaper, but for Western food items, I did not find such a big difference as I was expecting, because I thought that if I'm living in Malaysia and it's so much cheaper when it comes to housing, the food would also be so much cheaper, but this was not my conclusion. Fortunately or unfortunately, it was not the case. So we talked about the infrastructure and the city streets, and we talked about the weather, and we talked about the food, and we talked about the prices. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I should add. When it comes to all the things to do, I feel that both cities offer a lot, but I felt that in Singapore there was a little bit more variety of different activities. I feel like Singapore is it's basically like an entertainment capital, because they have all kinds of theme parks and different kinds of light shows and different kinds of parks and gardens and lots of malls. Basically, you can get anything you wish for as long as you can afford it. Kuala Lumpur is also a huge city and it offers a lot, but if I were to have unlimited budget, I would choose Singapore when it comes to all the activities and things to do. Also, the Marina Sands Hotel, it's really more beautiful than any hotel or any mall that I've seen here in Kuala Lumpur. So I think Singapore wins just because of that one. Yeah. So I guess if we were to make a conclusion, I'm kind of thinking and talking and filming at the same time, but this is the beauty of these kinds of unedited videos. You can see the real thing as it happens in real time. If we were to make a conclusion, I would say that Kuala Lumpur is a good budget choice, and it's better to go to Kuala Lumpur than not going anywhere at all. But if you can afford going to Singapore, that might be a better experience if you have to choose between these two cities. That would be my conclusion. And with that being said, I would like to remind you that I'm currently in East and Southeast Asia for a few months. And during this time, I'm recording lots of exclusive content. And no matter where you are, if you are in Asia, Europe, USA, or anywhere else, if you haven't done much long-term or long-distance traveling lately, I would like to challenge you to broaden your horizons and give it a try. When you visit new places, you might find yourself feeling happier and more fulfilled with new ideas, inspiration, and motivation to accomplish your life goals. And it's not just my personal opinion, it's confirmed by scientific research. In the worst case scenario, you'll just learn how to appreciate your home country more. Either way, it should be a win-win. And as an active traveler and business owner with experience, I might be able to assist you with trip planning, life coaching, and business consulting, with all the details available at buymeacoffee.com/transitnomad or through the link in the video description below. This is where you can also find lots of exclusive content on many different cities around the world, my secret tips, PDF guides, and the option to request a custom video on any topic that matters to you. Thank you everyone for watching, commenting, liking, and subscribing. I appreciate you being a part of the Transit Nomad family and look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.